They went from having 0 records to 212 pages of records about their collusion with the Pelosi January 6 operation to get Trump. Just before this report to you, I was on a Zoom participating virtually in a state court hearing in Fulton County, Georgia, on the Fani Willis documents scandal that Judicial Watch uncovered. As you may recall, Judicial Watch filed a Freedom of Information or Open Records Act lawsuit in Georgia against Fani Willis after she didn't turn over any documents or responded responded with as I keep on saying, a hand to the face for our request about documents with detailing any collusion she had to get Trump with Jack Smith operation and the Pelosi January 6 operation. And more or less, she said, oh, 3, 4, 5 times, I don't have documents. And even worse, she didn't even show up in court to answer our complaint. So she was found in default. The court noted that the searches were just not real searches at all. She admitted that there were documents after telling us and the court repeatedly there were no documents. The court ordered her to pay Judicial Watch's fees, attorney's fees and costs, so her operation had to pay us nearly $22,000, but we still don't have the documents. So the judge, and we've been asking for a special master, which would be a judicial appointed individual, usually like a retired judge or expert lawyer, who would oversee a legitimate search of records. And so, they tell us they have no records about the collusion. And then they say, oh, we do have records about the collusion. And the only record they released was the one that we sent to them to show that when you say you have no record, you're lying, because Fani Willis herself wrote a letter to the head of the January 6th committee. Then they come back and say, oh, we did find records after all. Today at the hearing, in a hearing over our request for a special master, they said they did another search, and now there are 212 pages of records. Can you believe it? So they went from having 0 records to 212 pages of records about their collusion with the Pelosi January 6 operation to get Trump. The court, during the hearing, held in abeyance our request for a special master. I think he's hesitant to do that. It's extraordinary in some ways, but on the other hand, this is an extraordinary circumstance. Never in Judicial Watch's history of hundreds of Freedom of Information Act lawsuits has a government agency been found in default because they couldn't be bothered to show up to answer the lawsuit. It's incredible. And on top of that, they did multiple searches, pretended not to find anything, or did fake searches. And then they telling us they have no records, and then they discover records. Each search, they find seemingly more records. And now we know they're 212 pages when they said they had 0 pages to begin with. All those circumstances suggest they can't be trusted to tie their own shoes, let alone search for records in an honest way, hence our request for a special master. But in the meantime, the judge says, you know what, I'm going to look at these documents because you're telling Judicial Watch they can't have any of them. It's 212 pages. I can look at them directly. So Fani Willis today, her lawyers admitted that they have 212 pages on collusion targeting Trump. Now, they're not going to say it was collusion targeting Trump. That's my term. But I'm fairly describing what the issue is. They were coordinating with the January 6th committee on the unprecedented prosecutions of Trump, not for doing anything illegal, in my view, but for exercising his core First Amendment rights, his obligations under his oath of office as President of the United States to make sure the elections were run correctly in Georgia. So again, Judicial Watch's heavy lifting repeatedly gets more and more results with this Fani Willis scandal. So Fani Willis admits to having documents. She's forced to pay us $22,000. We find out the documents are even more than anyone had previously admitted to, 212 pages. And the court said, I want to look at the documents. here is where the court essentially directed or told, our lawyers, our Judicial Watch lawyers, and the government what he was going to do, which is to order the records be turned over to him for review. Let's go here and listen to what the judge said.
Have I said things that leave either side with a lack of clarity as to what's happening next? Because I don't mean for that. I know it's a little bit amorphous because you want some time, Mr. Monroe, to consult with your client and flesh out, here's what I, meaning plaintiff petitioner, would like to see in this affidavit describing how the search was conducted. I'll enter an order that says I'm taking this under the 212 pages in camera to review that. So that's in the record. It's in the transcript right now, but that ought to be demarcated on this date. County attorney, you got 4 days to bring me the documents, or 48 hours, or whatever it is. And then we'll all know where those are. Because if I get distracted by something else that maybe happened in 2024 and there's someone sitting in jail, then you'd be able to say, Judge, you've been sitting on only 212 pages for a month. That's 12 hours a page. Let's go. And I'll say, you're right, I got to turn back to that. But at least there'll be that marker saying, here's where we are in the process.
So right now, we don't know what the documents are, what they say. There are all sorts of privileges being asserted. Whether we can smash through the wall to get to the privileges, to get to the documents, and overcome these exemption assertions is kind of going to be another matter. But the fact is, we now know hundreds of pages of documents exist detailing collusion between Fani Willis and the Pelosi operation. So that's a big victory for accountability. And it's more than the media's done. I don't know where the Justice Department is on all of this. I think they're going too slow generally on everything I care about, and meaning from Judicial Watch's perspective. And I hope they get up to speed. It's only been a month or so, but still, the Republic's continuing to be under attack. I mean, that charge in Georgia was so abusive and so, in my view, deserving of criminal investigation. And now there are records that I think could reflect on whether a criminal investigation is warranted of Fani Willis's operation. And not only that, whether there should be investigations of what the January 6th committee was up to up here in Washington, D.C., when they were abusing their powers to ferret out information to help prosecutors target their political enemies, namely Donald Trump and other innocents. So another victory for the rule of law today at this court hearing in the Fani Willis matter.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.